What's up? My name is Alea. Welcome back to my channel. Today is the start of a brand new themed reading vlog that I've been really excited to film for many months now. This is also the first themed reading vlog I've ever done on my channel, so welcome to the theme. So this week's theme is cottagecore, otherwise known as dark cottagecore. So you might be thinking, Alea, I don't know what that is. Don't fret. I have the answers for you. So dark cottagecore is basically the dark goth version of the cottagecore aesthetic. So basically think if the cottagecore aesthetic had a baby with folk horror and nature horror. That's basically what dark cottagecore is. So basically these are books that have either like creepy misty atmospheres, spirits, ghosts, graveyards, anything that goes bump in the night, creatures that live in the woods that are creepy, poisonous plants, that kind of vibe. And also, I originally came up with this idea after I saw this Instagram post. I will put up a picture right here. I think the original creator was called Axe Ghost Story on Instagram, and they posted this Instagram post recommending dark cottagecore books a long time ago, like back in March, and I thought it was really cool and interesting. And so I've kind of been having this idea in the back of my mind that I wanted to do a reading vlog themed around that. And so I kind of came up with my own list of books that I thought fit well with that aesthetic, so I'll put that up here as well. I made a little graphic for you guys. So some of these I've read and some of them are on my TBR, but I'm going to be looking at this and kind of like picking out some books this week that I want to read. So I think the three that I'm leaning towards are Slewfoot by Brom, which I've heard is a really good one that a lot of people have been reading lately. This is supposed to be about a woman who lives in this Puritan village in Connecticut, and things go awry and she ends up making a deal with a demon and things kind of go from there. I've heard it's dark, I've heard it's witchy, and I'm really excited to get to that one. I'm also going to be reading They Drown Our Daughters by Katrina Monroe. So this is a new gothic horror that came out, and it's supposed to be set in this like seaside town in Washington, and it's kind of giving like unhinged woman witchy water horror vibes. So I think this one's gonna be really cool. I'm excited to get to this. I've heard some mixed things, so we'll see what I think about it. And the third one I'm thinking about reading is a horror graphic novel anthology, and it's called Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. This is a book that I've been hearing about for a while, and it was also on the original cottagecore books list that I saw on Instagram from this other creator, and so I thought that I would go ahead and read that one in this vlog as well. So that's kind of the theme for this vlog. I'm really excited because I love horror, but I haven't read a lot of it lately, so we shall see what I think of this. But without further ado, let's get into the vlog. So I started my first book for this vlog, which is Through the Woods by Emily Carroll, and so far it's really good. I'm about halfway through, and it's a really quick read because it's just all short stories, and the art style is really eerie and creepy, and also there's a lot of murder in this book, and there's also a lot of stories that have creepy woods and little cottages and haunted houses and ghosts and dead people and all that kind of stuff, which to be honest is right up my alley. So I think this is really cool. All the stories are really different. Some of them are a little more like real world and some of them are a little bit more like paranormal, but I think that they're good. I think they're pretty solid. My only complaint is that I think there's a few stories where things are a little bit ambiguous because some have more words than others, and so some of the ones that don't have as many words are a little bit not confusing but like up for interpretation, I think, and I'm not sure if that was the intent or if I'm supposed to be interpreting the pictures a certain way, but other than that I think it's good. I think it's solid. My favorite one so far was the second story, and it's called A Lady's Hands Are Cold. That one was really creepy, but I really liked it, and it's about this young lady who gets into an arranged marriage with this guy because her father wants her to, and she moves into his estate, and then she finds out that things aren't really what they seem with this estate, and he lives in this really creepy house, and in the middle of the night when she's trying to sleep she keeps hearing this female voice sing, and it's singing this really creepy song about murder, and she's like, oh my god, what the hell? And so she kind of has to figure out what's going on with this house and what the deal is with her husband, and I liked that one a lot. That was really cool, really creepy. I think it's probably the creepiest one in the book so far. But yeah, so this is really cool, and I think I'm probably gonna finish it soon, but for now I'm gonna go to bed because I'm really tired, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Good night. I just finished Through the Woods by Emily Carroll, and I think I'm going to give it a 3.5. I really enjoyed it, but it didn't knock my socks off quite like I thought it was going to. My favorite stories were A Lady's Hands Are Cold, His Face All Red, and The Nesting Place. That last one, The Nesting Place, had a really, really creepy art style, and I thought it was really cool. But again, a lot of these stories, it seemed like they just ended like right on the climax of the story, and I just really wanted more from all of them, which is totally fine because I know that they're short stories, but I just wanted to know what was going to happen to the characters after these big climactic events, and we didn't really get a ton of hints in some of them as to like what is going to happen now, which is okay, I guess that's a preference, but I really did want a little bit more from these. And also I didn't realize going in that these are young adult stories, so I don't think that they were quite as horrifying as I was anticipating after reading reviews for this one. So I liked this, but not my favorite thing in the world, but still good, and the art was still really, really cool. Let me see if I can find, like, this one's from The Nesting, and it's really, really creepy. And all these stories are really different. Like, some of them had monsters, some of them had just a lot of like interpersonal stuff going on, and a lot of murder, which I wasn't anticipating, but I really liked. And some of them have like beasts, and other ones are a little bit more about like interpersonal violence versus like more paranormal stuff. But I felt like this really fit with the theme of the vlog because pretty much all these stories have cottages that are in the woods that are really isolated, and creepy like monsters and beasts that are attacking the villagers, and spirits and haunted houses and things like that. So it definitely fit the vibe, just not quite as good as I was anticipating. But I think that the next book I'm going to pick up for this vlog is They Drown Our Daughters. So this is one I've heard a lot of good things about. It's an adult horror, and I think it has to do with these women who are all related, and they have this family history of like drowning. And I'm not sure if it's all in the same body of water or what the deal is, but there is this really cool like family tree at the beginning, and I think all the women who drown, their names are kind of like highlighted. So I'm interested to see what happens with this. I also have the audiobook on Scribd, so I think I'm going to listen to that and follow along in this. So that's my plan. And I think Peyton and I are also going to go on a little walk and maybe a picnic in the Arboretum today. So we're going to go do that, and then I will update you when I have some initial thoughts about this. it a brown acorn or is it a turd? Jury's still out.
It's a turd.
I see.
Acorn-shaped turd.
Disgusting.
Do you see it?
I see it. Hello, so last night I started They Drown Our Daughters by Katrina Monroe, and so far I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot more witchy than I thought it was going to be, and right at the beginning we open with a point of view from this lady Regina, and she has just found out that her husband is cheating on her. She found a letter in his desk saying that he was going to leave her and their 3 kids to be with his mistress, and Regina's pissed. She's like, no, like, we worked so hard to build this family, and my husband has a lot of money, and so our kids are really well off, and if he leaves us to go be with his mistress, then he's gonna marry her, and then once they have kids, then my kids are gonna get pushed to the side, and it's gonna be awful. So she goes to her friend Constance, and everybody says that Constance is a witch, and she does seem to like have charms and potions that she makes and stuff like that, and she gives Regina some advice, and Regina's basically like, hey, like, this is going on with my husband and I don't want to kill him, but I do want to hurt him, like, what can we do? And Constance tells her, okay, we can make this charm and hide it in his office, and it will affect him, and make sure when you set the charm up you like talk to it and make sure that it will protect you and your kids, but it will hurt him in some way. And so Regina goes to do that, and then things go awry and somebody ends up dead, and that's kind of where this family curse starts. So then after Regina's chapter, we go back to this chapter in the present with Meredith. So in the present we're following Meredith, Judith, and Alice, and so those are the descendants of Regina who are living in this place called Cape Disappointment that is supposedly haunted. And in Cape Disappointment, there's this rumor that this family has a curse, and most of the women in this family drown, and they say that the water speaks to them, and some people think that it's related to mermaids, some people think it's like a fish lady curse or something. And so Meredith is like, I don't believe in this curse, and she is going through a separation with her wife, and so she moves back in with her mom Judith, who lives in Cape Disappointment, where she grew up. And so she's also bringing back her daughter Alice, who's never been there before, and so the curse is kind of starting to manifest again with this younger generation with Alice. And so we get these different point of views throughout the book from Regina as well as the women in the present, and then also from Regina's daughter Grace. And so we get to see all the women and how Regina's actions with this charm and her cheating husband have affected like all of the women who are descended from her. And it's really interesting. It's very witchy. It's also got this like creepy, misty lighthouse by the ocean vibe, and it's kind of haunted, and the women hear this weird voice in their head that kind of tells them to do things. Like Meredith is standing at the top of the lighthouse and she feels like somebody tell her to jump, and she catches herself like when she's right on the edge before she's like jumping out the window of the lighthouse, and she's like, oh my god, I don't want to jump, like what's happening here, like I'm being spoken to by something, am I just crazy or is something really going on? It's really good, it's interesting. I am intrigued to see what happens with Regina in the present, and if like after the curse goes bad and this whole thing goes awry with the charm that Constance gave her, if she goes back and is like, hey, I need help. Because Constance definitely finds out that things went south, and she's like, dude, like this is not good, like you need to fix it. And Regina's like, no, like don't worry about it, it's gonna be fine, I'll just cover it up. And yeah, no, there's people dying, there's people drowning, there's things going awry, there's people going missing, there's a lot of stuff going on with Regina's kids as well, when they kind of figure out that mom's kind of doing some suspicious stuff. So it's gonna be really interesting. I'm really into it so far. It's kind of like witchy water horror is what I would say so far. But I'm gonna read some more of this, and then also my parents are in town this weekend, so I think we're gonna go do some shopping, and we might go to like Michael's and Target and stuff like that. And then I think tonight we're gonna carve some pumpkins, so I'll try to show you guys that as well. So I will update you when I have something else. Hello. So I'm gonna be 100% honest. I've been having really bad chronic pain and cramps like all day long today, and I just feel like garbage. I started feeling it early this morning, and I took some medicine, and it didn't really do anything, and I was still in a lot of pain. So I took a nap, and then I woke up from my nap, and I felt a lot better, which was nice. But I just have been feeling bad on and off like all day long. And I've been having really low energy, and it just has not been super rad. And so really all I did today was make pumpkin seeds and eat pumpkin seeds, and I did some laundry, and I tried to make some little graphics for this vlog on the iPad, and they actually turned out really cute. So those are all hand-drawn ones that I did for this vlog, and I'm excited about them. I'm trying to do something new, and I think that you guys will really like it. But other than that, I didn't really get any reading done today because I just was in too much pain to like focus on the plot. But yeah, I think today has been the worst pain day that I've had in probably like 4 or 5 months. So yeah, it just hit me like a truck out of the blue today. And that happens sometimes, but that also means that this vlog is probably going to go up a couple days later than I wanted it to, which is not super ideal. But you know, I'm not mad about it. Sometimes these days happen, and I know there's a lot of other booktubers that also have like chronic pain and chronic health stuff, so it's been nice to watch some of their videos. Like I've been watching a lot of Ali V today. Well, she changed her name. It's Allison Pages now. But I know she's got like chronic migraines, and I know like Riley Marie also has chronic health stuff, so a lot of times when I feel like this I like to watch their videos. So I've just been binge watching booktube and sleeping and trying to feel better today. But I think I'm gonna try to do a little bit of reading before I go to bed tonight. And then my parents left town today, so the rest of this vlog is just gonna be me trying to finish up some of these witchy cottagegore books that we got going on, and trying to kind of rest because I don't really feel very well. But I will talk to you later on. Hello, so I just finished They Drown Our Daughters by Katrina Monroe, and oh my god, it was really good. The last 2/3 were honestly awesome. So I'm going to try and explain all the things that I liked so you can get a better idea of kind of the plot of this book. So I really love the atmosphere. It's set in this little ocean seaside town, and there's a really creepy lighthouse that has a red light, and there's a lot of ocean scenes where there's heavy mist and ghosts and like creepy seashells that keep reappearing and weird stuff like that, and I loved that. And then I also thought that the characters were really well fleshed out. We have a large cast of characters, but it didn't feel like too much because they all seemed really distinctive. And then there's also a family tree at the beginning of the book that kind of explains how everybody's interconnected, and that was super helpful. So my favorite parts about this book were the alternating perspectives. And so the main two characters are Meredith, and Judith is Meredith's mom. And so about 2/3 of the way through the book, we get these perspectives from Judith when she was a young teenager in the 70s, and we get to see those alongside Judith's perspective in the present. And it's cool because they kind of are experiencing things in tandem. So this book has a really cyclical nature to it because all of these different women in the family are experiencing a lot of the same things with this curse. So they hear the ghost girl's voice in their head, and they're really drawn to the water, and they get the same like weird headache in the back of their head, and a lot of them keep finding the same seashell. Like they'll throw it away into the ocean and then it will come back and their daughter will find it, and they can hear the ghost girl like crying when they listen to the shell, and all this weird stuff keeps happening to them, but they experience really similar things. But the problem is the women don't like talk to each other because a lot of the moms have died by the time the daughters start like feeling the effects of the curse. And then the moms that are alive when their daughters are feeling the curse, they like gaslight their daughters basically and don't want to talk about the curse because they feel like if they talk about it, it makes it more real, and then their daughter is going to have like worse ghosty symptoms, if you will. And some of them also like don't want to talk about it because they're scared that their husbands will send them off for being like crazy. And that does happen to one of the women. Like she experiences this really awful encounter with this ghost, and then her husband is basically like, okay, I don't believe you, and he sends her to a mental institution and like takes her away from her kids. And so a lot of these women don't want to talk about what's happening, and so they kind of try to like repress it and not talk about it, and then their daughters are experiencing the same things again, and you get to see the parallels there. So anyways, back to Judith and Meredith. Judith is experiencing these things in the 70s, and she tries to talk to her mom about it, and her mom doesn't want to talk about it. She kind of pretends it's not there, it's not happening. She's like, Judith, you're crazy, like what you're seeing is not real. And Judith is like, no, I know what I'm seeing is real and I know something's wrong. And so she ends up like digging into her family's history and figuring out what's going on with the ghost girl and trying to uncover who she is and what happened to her grandma and her great grandma and how this curse kind of came about. And then she ends up meeting this girl named Cassie, and Cassie is the great granddaughter of Constance, who was the witch who helped make Regina the charm that started the whole curse. And so Judith and Cassie become friends, and so there's a lot of really cool scenes with them and their friendship and this old house that they hang out at that used to be the old witch's house, and the way that they kind of do like seances together and stuff, and Cassie's trying to help protect Judith from this curse and like give her little tokens and gifts and things that are supposed to be like protective against evil, and Judith is doing her own digging into her family's past. And then we also get to see Meredith in the present as she's meeting a lot of the same people that Judith met when she was a teenager, and they're running into the same weird situations, and they have similar situations and encounters with the ghost girl herself and with other people in the family who are connected to the curse, and also with objects that play into the curse, like this shell. Judith found this shell when she was a kid, and she carried it with her for a long time because she was trying to listen to the ghost girl and like communicate through the shell. And Meredith ends up finding the same shell, and then later Meredith's daughter Alice finds the shell, and Judith freaks out on her. And Meredith and Alice are like, what the hell, like it's just a shell. And Judith is like, no, you don't get it, like this shell is like an omen that bad things are going to start happening again, and she's like coming for us. And so it's really, really interesting. And then about 2/3 of the way through the book, we realize that like maybe Judith and Meredith are encountering something else as well that is less paranormal, but maybe there's some other things that are also coming for their family that are related to the ghost girl, but it's not just her, there's other bad things going on. And it's really interesting, and it's dark and messed up, and there are some kind of like violent scenes towards the end, but I thought that it wrapped up really nice, and I thought that I knew where the story was going to go, and then it didn't, and some other things came to light at the end that were really cool and dark and messed up but made total sense, and it was really good. I really recommend this if you like horror, or if you like books about generational trauma and women, because this book is really about generational trauma and motherhood, and I liked that a lot, and you kind of get more of those themes as the book goes on, and by the end you're like, oh my god, I totally get it. Like, this is so sad and so rough, but Meredith is really pushing, a lot like Judith was, to have the curse end with her. And you know that as Judith is trying to do that in the 70s, that it didn't work out because the curse is still affecting her daughter Meredith and then her granddaughter Alice. But the way that they are so tenacious about trying to get to the bottom of what's going on, and, you know, doing their own digging and experimenting and trying to like encounter the ghost girl but not die in the process, and it was really great, and I really liked it. So I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5 because there were a couple moments where the writing was a little bit like off. Like, I was listening to the audiobook while I was cleaning at one point, and there was that classic line we all hate where it was like, Meredith let out the breath she didn't know she was holding, and I was like, no, God, you did not just throw that in. Like, we're so into it and with these creepy horror scenes, and then you just threw that line in, and I was like, brother, no, like, that was shitty. But there was a couple moments like that where the writing was just a little bit like amateur for no reason, but the rest of it was really good and solid and atmospheric and spooky and fun and dark, and the end really like kind of hit me in the feels a little bit. I was like, oh shit. But I thought it wrapped up really nicely and everything made sense, and you got the answers that you were looking for, but it also had like a little bit of a twist. So I thought it was great, and I highly recommend it. And this author also has another book coming out in May of 2023, I believe, and I think it's called The Graveyard of Lost Children, and that one looks really cool too. It has a similar like theme of motherhood going on, but it's still like a creepy horror book with ghosty stuff going on. So I think I'm going to check out that one when it comes out as well. And then the next book I'm going to read for this vlog is Slewfoot by Brom. So this is one that I just got at work because we had a copy that was damaged. It has like a box cutter cut thing on the inside flap, and so it got damaged out, and so I got a copy for free, and I was like, wow, this is like the perfect opportunity to read this book. And I also got the audiobook from my library because I heard people say the audiobook is really good too because the narrator like sings in part of it, and it's really cool. So I'm gonna listen to this. All I really know about it so far is that it's set in Connecticut in 1666 in this like Puritan village, and we're following this lady named Abatha, and her husband has recently died, and since he died, the villagers are like coming after her and are trying to steal her land and stuff, so she makes a deal with the devil to get back at them, and things kind of go from there. So I'm gonna go start this, and then I will update you after I've read like 50 pages or so. Hello. So I started Slewfoot last night, and it's really good so far. I have to say I was a little bit nervous about the writing style of this because, you know, lately I've been picking up some books that were written by men and had female leads, and the women were not written well. And let me tell you something, this is not one of those books. Brom can write women so well. Our main character Abatha is absolutely awesome. She's so feisty. And as it turns out, she is actually not from this Puritan village originally. So she's actually from London, and at the beginning of the book, she is living in the Puritan village in Connecticut in the New World, and she's married to this guy named Edward, and she's kind of having some flashbacks from 2 years ago when she was still living in London, and she talks about how her dad was an alcoholic and her mom had just passed away, and her dad basically sold her to the government for money, and the government was looking for brides for men who were living in the New World. And so she got shipped off to the New World to marry this guy named Edward Williams. And so she was promised to marry him, and she got shipped off when she was like 17. And so now she's almost 20, and she's living in Connecticut with this guy. And her husband is actually nice. He's just like a little bit of a pushover, and some of the other people in the village kind of like push him around and take advantage of him. And especially his older brother Wallace is super pushy and is basically like trying to steal the farm that Edward and Abatha are living on. Abatha is feisty, man. She takes no shit and she takes no prisoners, and I love her. And she is really feisty, and she's trying to like give her husband advice and make sure that he doesn't let his brother take advantage of him like he has been lately. And she kind of mouths off in front of his brother, and his brother is really, really rude to her and is basically like, you're a woman, so you don't get to talk, and in this society you're not allowed to be a part of like business negotiations if you're a woman, and the women are kind of just supposed to like be subservient to all the men, and if they talk back they can get whipped, and they get sent to the stocks, where you basically are like chained up outside overnight for like 4 days, and people like throw manure on you and stuff, and it's awful. And so Abatha is trying to like kind of integrate into this Puritan society, but at the same time she doesn't agree with the stuff that they do, because it's a pretty messed up society and they treat women like shit, and they treat each other like shit really, and it's all about like fearing God and fearing each other and like tattling on each other to the different reverends and stuff, and it's pretty awful. And so Abatha is trying to just like not get in trouble and not get whipped for speaking out against all these awful things that are happening. But the brother-in-law that she has, Wallace, is kind of like gunning for her. And to be honest, I cannot wait until Abatha teams up with the demon daddy Slewfoot and takes out this guy. Like, I cannot wait to watch her brother-in-law get brutally murdered by a demon. Like, this man sucks. And he deserves to choke. He does. I have nothing else to say. So far I'm really into this. It's very witchy and autumnal, and it definitely has the cottage-gore vibes. Abatha and her husband live in this little kind of like cottage in the woods, and they live like outside of the Puritan village, but they still go there a lot to go to church and stuff. And then also, if you haven't already seen these from other people, there are these really cool illustrations in the book too. So that's Abatha. And these are some of the like creepy creatures that she runs into. And this is her friend Samson. And then these are some of the monsters. So this is Slewfoot, that everybody talks about, who is basically like the demon in here. So anyways, I'm really excited to see where this goes. I think it's going to be really awesome, but I think for now I'm going to leave this vlog here. I am going to start a 24-hour spooky readathon today as well, because today's Halloween, so happy Halloween if you celebrate. And I think that I'm probably going to finish this up in that vlog and then tell you my thoughts there. So if you want to hear my final thoughts, make sure that you check out that vlog, because that one should be out later this week. And also, if you don't already know, I also have an Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, all that linked down below if you want to check that out. I also am really excited because today I just made my first bookish reading template for Instagram, and I've never made those before. I've been wanting to for a long time, and I just got really excited today and like went for it. So I'll put that up on the screen right here if you want to see the one that I just made for November. So if you want to see the templates that I'm making and some of the other stuff I'm doing, make sure that you follow my Instagram and go check out those templates on there, because they're posted on my highlights under templates if you want one of these little monthly reading trackers, because I think I'm going to start doing those every month as well. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and make sure that you comment a pumpkin emoji if you got to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. I love your support, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!